Uh, yes, we have worked on previous games. One of them was just never saw the light of day, and that was the first project we ever actually worked on. It was sort of a parkour-based video game set in the future, where you're this little girl, and there weren't any enemies and stuff, but I guess it was kind of like UnderEarth, but above ground in the future, and there was parkour, and you weren't an engineer.
Which will be super easy to program, right?
Yeah, that was that was the first project we ever worked on together, and that was scrapped at least for now.
Dot, dot, dot.
Dot dot dot.
Yeah, dot, dot, dot.
But besides that, we also both worked on. I'm still currently working on that project too. Age of Blood, which is an action RPG, but that's not really related to UnderEarth.
They have a Steam page.
Oh yeah, we have a Steam page.
Website.
Yeah.
That's Age of Blood, Galaxy Interactive.
Yeah. We both worked on that, but now Joseph has focused most of his attention on UnderEarth. So now, and me too, actually, my attention is on UnderEarth too. But that project still brings the love. So, and then that's the extent of it. At the moment, it seems like UnderEarth is going to be the first project that's going to see the light of day, be released. That actually be our first team game together.
Now, do you have a release date for it yet? Or like a projected official release date or goal that you're trying to hit, or are you just taking things as they come, seeing what feedback you get, working on that, and then seeing where you can go from that to eventually get it into a beta build?
I think that's a Joseph question.
Ideally, like late this year or quarter one, 2016 to be finished. But I honestly don't know. I mean, when we started, I think I gave the project 8 months or something, and it would be complete, or we'd have to kill it, and that was a year and a half ago. So.
Gotcha. Now, where do you think the gaming industry will be in the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a very interesting question.
I've gotten a lot of very interesting answers for this question as well. So I'm interested to see what you guys say, because you'd be surprised how many people, a lot of people have said the same thing, but there's a lot of people that have said very different things. So I like seeing where you think it's going to go and what you think, it's going to, whether it's going to turn into something or change, or if there's going to be a flip-flop. I like hearing what you guys have to say, because it is an interesting question.
Yeah. I personally, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. I hear people saying, "Oh, we're due for another crash." There's so many, horrible games released, and then on the other side of the coin here, oh, indie games are taking over. Indies are going to be the new AAA and such. And I'm kind of, I personally believe it's somewhere in between that. I think there's going to be kind of a decrease in AAA titles, in these in huge companies and such, at least in popularity. But they're always going to be there, is what I think. There's always going to be big games. There's always going to be Nintendo and maybe and Sony and big these big publishers and such. And they'll always be releasing sequels to games, continuing franchises. But I do also believe there is kind of a surge in indie games, as kind of evidenced by the last E3, where we had a few indie games that were up there with the big guys, like No Man's Sky, which was an indie game, and a couple others that were there at E3. So I think it's somewhere in between. Where sometimes it seems like it's almost like a renaissance, I want to say, in that we're kind of returning to how in the '90s, I guess.
Way back.
Way back.
Yeah, we're going way back in the '90s.
When because they were still basement developers back then.
Oh yeah.
Basement indie developers, but at the same time, we did have bigger companies releasing these AAA titles and such. Well, they would go on to be big companies in a way. And it does feel at times like it's almost a renaissance of that.
I do.
So I'm kind of hopeful for the future. I don't think it's gonna be bad or good. Almost kind of the somewhere in between, I guess. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, in the '90s, you did have your basement developers. It was, I do have to say, at least from my perspective and watching things, because I'll celebrate playing games for gaming for 30 years in December. That's my 30-year anniversary of gaming. So
Congratulations.
it was harder to get your hands on indie games back, especially the '80s, the '90s, things like that. You couldn't really get a hold of them. I like how in the open they are now, because there's so many different options. It's like you used to be like literally bottlenecked into AAA titles, and if you could get an indie title, it was a risk, which they always are a risk, which is fine, but it was so much harder. Much harder.
Yeah, the '90s and all their seals of approval and
was
quality
ridiculous.
control and stuff. Unless you played on PCs, you really didn't have a chance to play heavily modified titles or things that didn't pass through a Sega or Nintendo licensing.
I was kind of referring to the modern stuff. That was referring to PC-wise.
Right, and console sales have been dropping since 2008. Even though the industry is making way more money, console sales
That's because the consoles are like $800 a pop now.
That, or just there is more people migrating to PC. So I think and even Sony and Microsoft just a few years ago was not super friendly to indie developers.
No, they
I still
weren't.
have friends that aren't real happy with the way that they do things now, but they are seeing that there's a potential for a market anyway, as far as the audience goes, for indie titles. So it seems like there's definitely some rifts in the industry where publishers, I think, are going to be getting a little bit more lax on what their lion's share that they normally get from titles. When a team of like Super Meat Boy was a team of 2 people, and they made heavy amounts of profit from their game versus a AAA studio that has to pay the publisher, and they have to pay all these people outsourcing contracted jobs and whatnot. Then Super Meat Boy ends up making more money, at least for the 2 developers, than what a Halo game gets. Those developers work just as hard, but there's lots of people taking a piece of the pie. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as indie games keep getting more and more ground and street credit, I guess, even amongst bigger companies like Microsoft and Sony.
I mean, if you look at even recently, some of the indie games that have come, they've been blowing the AAA titles out of the water, as far as like at least on PC, as far as like popularity and things like that. And it's good to see that. It feels good.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for the indie teams, and we just have the benefit of having nothing to lose. These bigger companies have to really watch the bottom line, because they're risking so much. If the game's a flop, I mean, they could lose millions, and we don't have anything to lose, so we can be rigid on our ideas, or try things that are a bit risky, or just not make another first-person shooter game, which is a risky move, I think. But they can do beautiful things, and it is like a renaissance. It reminds me of when games would come out and every one of them was a little bit different. Not all sort of the same thing. At least the box art always made me feel like I was getting something like super cool.
If you go back into the 80s, like from Atari up, back in the day, and then through a little bit through the 90s, there was like the late 90s, early 2000s, I found there was a lot of the same thing coming out, just rehashes of the same thing. But you're right, there is things that are being tweaked and changed now, different options, and that's just like it was back kind of in the beginning where they had some of the set titles, and then you'd see ones that were tweaked and changed and just kind of different in a way that made it a slightly different experience that you were playing. And I think that's a good thing to have, because it gets damn boring playing the same crap over and over and over again with just different graphics.
Yeah, which was like the oversaturated market that Atari sort of started it, but I mean, it wasn't. It's not just them that oversaturates the market, and people talk about that all the time. Like green light is a bad thing because of all these indie games, and there's just going to be so many games that are crap. But and while that could be true or whatever, to me it doesn't matter. Like the more games that are out there, you pick the ones that you like. You don't have to rent games anymore at the video store and just sort of hope that this box art means that the game's going to be amazing.
Oh, God, yeah.
I don't know how many times I would get home, hoping that now my weekend's going to be full of this adventure, and there's this guy with a blue helmet and a pistol. That's Mega Man, and then I died a few times. I was like, this game's not for me, maybe.
Oh my God. Mega Man 2 was probably my favorite Mega Man. And I used to play it as a kid, no problems. And I'm talking little kid, 5, 6, 7 years old. And then as a teenager, I went back and played it and died miserably. Like within seconds. I was like, how is this possible? It's like, am I this bad now?
Yeah.
But I know that frustration.
Yeah, I think then it was like I couldn't just take a game back, especially if I'd already done it, twice or whatever. So you just had to keep playing that game. This is the event now, and it's frustrating and hard, but like this is what you have. So you just keep playing it, and I think gamers nowadays, if they die or can't do a quick save or something, like for a lot of them, they move on. But I think that's tragic when it's through that frustration that you sort of learn to love and appreciate a game. The first Tomb Raider, I don't know how many times I would swear that it was terrible level design or these puzzles or BS or whatever. But then when I would complete it, I would feel amazing, and then I would get back to like loving the game all over again and try to replace the broken Saturn controllers that got me.
I do have to say, I've never broken a controller. I was always weird. I would like just set them down gently and like walk away.
Yeah, I think I broke a few at least.
No, I don't think I've ever broke one. I think I did the same thing. Just put it down, like come back to it later. Just come back to it later.
Take a deep breath.
Just walk it off.
Yeah.
Scream Serenity Now a couple times.
Serenity Now.
Now, what guys did you enjoy play? What games did you enjoy playing in 2014?
Phantasy Star Online. We played that a lot in 2000.
I love Phantasy Star Online. I was the first level 100 on the Dreamcast version online.
Oh, that's what we were playing.
Yeah, I played it a lot in its heyday, and had SegaNet at one point, but
I had all that stuff.
My younger Joseph friend here, I don't think he was able to experience that sort of multiplayer fun. So
that game actually was the first time that I got to interact online because you had the Japanese servers too. So I used to play on Puck, which was a Japanese server. So you're dealing with all Japanese people. That was really the first game that just put everybody together. It's like you would run into Japanese, you would run into English speakers, so that was a really cool concept. And then since then there's been games that have done that since, but that was one of the first ones, and they did a fantastic job at it.
Yeah, and really opened up the console market to MMOs, and yeah, that was an amazing experience, and learning to communicate with people like on the Puck ship, where you just have to use emoticons because you're not going to understand each other any other way. So you just kind of have to chirp at each other and do your best. Although a lot of those Japanese speaking players seem to have at least some English phrases that they could say.
Yeah, I mean the best time I had, besides that was my first interaction, and then I went to the first online Final Fantasy, and again you were mixed in. You had English, Japanese, didn't matter.
Right.
And they had the set, the set little like quick chats that would come up where regardless of what language you were, you could read it. But there was a lot of the times, because I was a mentor in that game, there were a lot of times, since I spoke better Japanese back then, that I would just be like, all right, well, this person is saying this to the English speaker, and the English speaker, all right, well, he said this to the Japanese person. It's like back and forth. It's like, can you go pull that, heal this, do that? It was a lot of fun, but that's a good experience to have. And I think a lot of people that are younger have missed out on that, because, like, it was just like, oh my God, I'm 100% playing with people that are on the opposite side of the world of me. We have the same likes, we have the same goals, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's just not a big deal anymore. I mean, you can do that with Facebook or the internet or whatever. Yeah, then it was huge.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. I never got to experience that myself.
Yeah, it was cool until people started PKing everybody and stealing weapons, and then it got a little bit messy. But it was still amazing.
Now, what are your favorite games of all time?
That's that is always an extremely hard question.
It is, because there's a lot of games that I personally could pick out for different situations and different experiences, but it's like a generalized, what is your favorite game of all time type thing, more of a generalized one. So it is a little bit harder to pick it out.
If I had to try to grab some games, because there's a fire, so I have to grab whatever I can handle.
Oh my God.
Because there's a fire. Keep that in mind. There's a fire.
Because there's a fire.
Yeah. All the 3 Panzer Dragoon games for my Saturn.
I love you. I love those
Dragon
games.
Force, Secret of Mana.
Oh, yes.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's a fire, so I'm forgetting what Star Control 2 for the 3DO. My copy of Myst on Saturn.
That was such a good game.
Yeah, and I think mine's all scratched up now.
My Knights got scratched up.
Yeah, I still have a decent copy of Knights. I would take a lot of Saturn stuff, I guess, because that was my golden era leading up to the Dreamcast. And you can always just make CDR a Dreamcast game, so since there's a fire, I guess that's my lot, and then I'm gonna push the kids down and get out of the house.
Push the kids down. Get out of the way, kid. I got video games to save. Go, here, carry this console. Run, go.
Well, like the theme of this game, if the kids can get out of the house that's on fire after their father shoved them over to get out with the games, they'll have that feeling of achievement.
Well, actually, what you could do is just drag the kids with you, put all sorts of bags on them, kind of like pack animals, and like stuff them full of stuff and then send them on the way.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah, even if there's a fire, that's a whole lot of potential for stuffing like Genesis cards that fit in their pockets and.
Yeah, it's like just get lots of bags, like little mules, and be like, you need to stay here. It's like, Daddy, I can't move. It's like, yes, you can. Just go. Look at the fire. You'll get some adrenaline. Go run. And
Have your
don't
mother
drop
drag
any of
you
the
out of the house.
consoles.
Yeah.
If anything gets broken or scratched, you're grounded.
Well, for me personally, I guess then if I had to choose, Earthbound for SNES, Panzer Dragoon Saga also, Final Fantasy 9 and
Okay,
or
good
8.
one.
Yeah, yeah, I like 8 a lot actually.
Risky business.
Yeah.
That was a shot of 8.
No Final Fantasy 7, even if there's a fire.
Well, I like
Well,
the other. I love Final Fantasy 7, but I actually prefer 9 more. Shenmue, of course. Shenmue.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Shenmue. What else would I choose?
There's a fire.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, Dark Cloud for the PS2. I guess that would be the ones like that immediately pop to my mind. I think of all the other games.
You could use a few of my kids.
Oh,
He's like, I'll lend them out to you.
Or they'll be grounded. Or they'll be sent to the burned out hole that used to be the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With all the melted plastic and everything.
Just go play with your plastic toys. The melted plastic toys.
The little
Yeah.
lump of black plastic. It's fun. Use your imagination.
It's like a new toy now.
Oh, and Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
Okay.
Morrowind.
Nice.
And then I think that's all I could actually choose. Just because just because I like so many other games, it's really hard to choose.
That's
from
why I
all
said
anyway.
there's a fire. It's the only way to do
Yeah,
it.
even the fire, I think I'd just be stuck there thinking which one's a
You would
good
just
choice.
burn to death.
I would burn to death. I'd be like, if all these are going to go down, because there's no possible way I could get them out in time, I'd be like, I guess I'm dying and going down with the ship here.
Yeah,
Cause
exactly. I just sat there, I'm going down with my games.
like, oh, I'm burning to death. Save the dog. Now, what was their favorite moment in a game that you've ever had? Like, did you have a moment where you were like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened, like a jaw-dropping moment or something that changed the way you thought about a certain situation or like, really affected you in your personal life or, your real life, not gaming life?
That is a deep question. What is your target audience with this podcast? This-
Armchair philosophers.
Oh, I see.
We have a lot of gamers that have been into gaming for a long time like me. We also have like Linux users, programmers, all sorts of stuff. So we're not a dumb gaming crowd. We're not like I don't want to like lump up and say like the younger crowd doesn't get gaming, but some of them don't. Some of them are in it for like the graphics or the quick hit, the quick action type thing, and that's not necessarily what gaming is about.
Yeah. But emotionally, I guess for me, that would have probably be many moments of Earthbound. One of the reasons I picked it.
Earthbound does have a lot of like moments where you're like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and Shenmue, definitely from Shenmue. Near the ending, after everything's happened, near the end of the game, when you go off to rescue Nozomi from those guys in the gang, and then there's that whole guitar
Spoiler.
scene. So, spoiler 10. How much? 15-year-old spoilers.
Yeah, 15 years. If you haven't played it, go play it anyway. because the game's
Yeah.
awesome, but
Yeah, moments in Shimu, because Shimu was a very personal game. So it definitely there are moments in it that really affected me emotionally. Just because I got so entwined with it and so close to Rio and with all these people around him. So I can't really name a specific moment, but just many moments in Shimu I never found.
I have a couple. When you first hear the battle roar of a large army you put together in Dragon Force, and see all those 200 some sprites on screen at the same time, that's a thrilling experience. Although I say it like I'm on Valiant. And uh, Panzer Dragoon 2, and it was sort of repeated in Orta, released on the original Xbox. You start with like a baby dragon, and then have to play some levels with this weird wobbly like dragon thing, and then as it matures, it starts to grow wings, and then on one level you're running sort of out of road while you're being chased by things, and then that's when the dragon takes flight for the first time. In
oh,
the
that's
second
actually
game,
that's the second portion of the first board.
yeah,
I know that game like the back of my hand. I've probably put at least 600 hours into Panzer Dragoon 2 on Saturn. Like, I can get perfect score on every board and not miss an enemy. I'm really, really anal with certain games.
yeah, that was great, and Orta, like your dragon gets shot down, and then you have to do one of those levels where you're wobbly and not quite, a normal dragon, and then I guess it regrows its wings, something.
I believe so. It's been a while since I've played Orta. I play my Saturn a lot more than I play my Xbox. I play a lot more of my classic systems than the newer stuff.
Have you played Quake and Duke Nukem 3D on your Saturn?
I did not play either of them on my Saturn. I played them on PC.
Well, the reason that you should own those games is because if you have save data from Quake on your system and you load up Duke Nukem 3D, you get to play this lobotomy-made mini game called Death Tank. It's up to 7 players. You're all a bunch of parallelograms with different weapons, and you just shoot at each other. It's good fun. All my team but one member, so 3 people, and some other people had a good few hours of that the other day.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Oh, and you also need a multi-tap, I guess, for the Saturn, and like a billion controllers.
Well, we can work that out. That's details. Now, for some closing questions, do you have any next titles you'll be working on, or are we strictly focusing on UnderEarth for right now? And once this gets farther along, gets more out as far as like beta release or closer to its full-on release, then will you work on something else?
Yeah, we're just trying to keep focused on UnderEarth, and we don't have any heady plans for torturing ourselves into a sequel or anything right now. Just making sure UnderEarth is everything it can be, and then after that we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we're just focused on UnderEarth at the moment. We want to fix everything that's everything wrong with it, and then finish it, make it the best we can. So we want to stay focused on UnderEarth. So we don't want to really give thought to any sequels or anything yet. Because that might
or our next game. I mean, hopefully it's just something serendipitous that hits us after as soon as we release this one, we decide we're going to make a 2D balloon popping game.
Now I'm going to do some questions on behalf of some of our viewers, because I know these will get asked. So I know Eurydamus would ask, are you going to have Linux support?
That's a Joseph question.
If there's enough of a demand for it. We were kind of planning. There were plans for like max for money. If there's enough demand for it, we could put that in export.
Okay.
It just depends on how many people were actually going to use it. If we made it available and spend the amount of time into porting it to the next